Thanks, Carl, for this consulting challenge this week. So let's take a look at what the data looks like. So we've got this data set here that's coming in for each engagement. So each row is an engagement of one of the consultants. But if we look at the table itself, it's all numbers. It's not very meaningful to any human trying to read this data. So let's help with that. So first of all, if we look at the consultant forename and surname, we see that those are numeric, and we have this initials table to look up the actual initial that is associated with that number. So we need two joins in order for this to work. So we're doing it based on the consultant forename equals initial ID, and then also our consultant surname equals initial ID. I found it helpful to have a clean step in between these so that I'm renaming the first initial from just being an initial field and then an initial -1 field. I thought that would help me keep track a lot easier. So I also rename this initial when it comes through to be the last initial, so that when I'm just creating this initials field, it's as simple as just saying first initial plus last initial to concatenate those together. And then we should have 6 fields after playing around with all those initials to get them in the right format that we're looking for. Next up, if we take a look at the grades, then if I click on, say, for example, AE, then I can see that I've got 2 grades associated with them. I just want to take the minimum grade because there's been an error in the data, so I just want that to be replaced with both 1s. So in order to achieve that, I can use a fixed level of detail calculation. So I go to the grade field, go down to create calculated field, and go to Fixed LOD. And then I just want to take the min grade for each of those consultants, so for each of those initials, and then we get down to this data set. So rather than having kind of an even spread of our consultants across all the grades, it's much more likely that we have a lot of lower grade consultants, and then as you get more senior, there are fewer people. That structure probably makes a little bit more sense. So I'm just going to delete that calculation 1 for now. Well, I'll show you that it works first actually. If I go to AE, then you can see that calculation 1, we're getting 1 across both of those rows now for the grade, which is great. So I'm just going to get rid of that here because I've actually made that field here and called it the corrected grade as per the challenge requirements. And then I can look at my grades, I can see that I have a name associated with them and a day rate, and then I can join those two together on that corrected grade and have those 2 extra fields come through. Can get rid of those IDs now, and already our data set's looking a lot better, where we've got some initials, we've got some grade names, some day rates. It's a lot more human readable, but we'd like to turn these 4 fields here in the middle into actual dates rather than looking at the day and the month numbers. So make date is the function here that is super helpful for us. So if I just show that for the start date, then you can see that we've got the year is 2024, the month is the engagement start month, and the day is the engagement start day. And it's exactly the same for the end date, just replacing the start month and day with the end month and day. And that works nicely for us. We can get rid of all those extra fields, so we're back down to a manageable data set again, 5 fields, and again, all looking much more readable to a human, which is great. But we have some more data issues to contend with. So if I look at AI is always the problem, right? Then we can see that if we look at this, these bottom 2 engagements here, they start in August, but the previous engagement is still ongoing until December. So how are they starting a new project when they're already working on this project here? Their workload would be absolutely crazy trying to juggle 3 of those at once. So we want to get rid of these bottom 2 rows in that logic. So we're going to come to our start date. We're just going to make sure we order those. So create calculator field. We're going to rank those start dates for each of those consultants, so each initials. And then we're going to change the sort order into ascending order so it numbers in kind of forwards chronological order. And if we take a look for AI, then that should number those 1 to 4 in the way that we would expect. Yep, that looks good. Cool. So I'm going to get rid of that rank here, and that is happening here in this next step. So just what we've shown there. And now it comes to actually filtering them out. So we need to have that information about the previous engagement's end date and check that that end date isn't coming after the start date of the next engagement. So to put that into a function, we need to use a lookup function. So I'm just going to zoom in on that calculation there. So our partition here is grouping by each of those initials. So each of those consultant names, group by those so that we don't get information about any other consultants' projects. We're going to order by that engagement order field that we created in ascending order, and we're going to look up the end date of the row before it, so the previous project. And that's just going to help us because then all that information is on the same row. So if we look at AI again, then we will see that, for example, for their third engagement, we have this 28th of August start date, but the previous engagement isn't over until December, and so that is highlighting as an issue. Well, it's not the same for row 2, for example, where the end date of the previous engagement was June and the start date of the next engagement was August. So now to filter those out, I seem to have lost my mouse. Oh, okay, there we go. It's back. So I'm filtering this using the start date has to be bigger than the previous engagement end, but if I just had this top bit, then I would only get back about 200 rows. I need to not forget about the first engagement of each of the consultants, where that will be null because there isn't a previous engagement end date. So we need an OR here with is null previous engagement end. And then we should be down to 719 rows. So hopefully you enjoyed that challenge. Hopefully that was quite a lot of fun, and thanks very much for watching.